let's dive in. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the world of Steve Jobs.
Ooh, exciting.
It is, right? And we're going way beyond just iPhones and Macs.
Right, beyond the products.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to really try to uncover the philosophies, the experiences that kind of made him who he was. This tech titan, right? I've got some excerpts here from Steve Jobs, the visionary behind Apple Inc.
Okay.
And I'm excited to unpack this with you.
I am too. What I always find fascinating about Jobs, he's often seen as this singular genius figure. But when you really look at his story, you see that it's actually woven with all these threads of collaboration.
And collaboration, yeah.
Setbacks and influences you wouldn't expect from this tech icon.
Totally. Like, for example, did you know that he was adopted?
Oh, yeah.
And raised by a working class couple?
That's right.
His dad was a machinist, Paul.
Yeah.
And his mom, Clara, was an accountant. Not your typical Silicon Valley upbringing, right?
No, not at all. And it's so interesting how that blue-collar background really shaped him.
I think so.
His dad's workshop is where his love for electronics really blossomed.
It makes sense.
But his mom nurtured in him a deep appreciation for art.
Ah, that's so interesting because that's where we start to see that fusion of the technical and the artistic that would be so central to Apple, right? To Apple's DNA.
Absolutely. That's a thread we're going to see.
Oh, yeah.
Again and again throughout his story.
For sure.
Another key ingredient, I think, is his friendship with Steve Wozniak.
That's right. The dynamic duo that would go on to launch Apple from a garage.
From a garage.
In 1976.
Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. Not the sleek headquarters that we think of today.
Right, right.
So their first venture, was the Apple. It was a success.
It was.
But then came the game changer, the Apple II, in 1977.
The Apple II was groundbreaking. This was one of the first mass-produced microcomputers with color graphics. And importantly, with an open architecture, meaning that it could be easily expanded and customized by users.
Oh, I see.
So this just opened up a world of possibilities for developers, for hobbyists, and it really propelled Apple into the mainstream.
Now, we've all heard about Steve Jobs' intense personality.
Right.
But I was struck by how the source material really emphasizes this interesting contrast between his demanding, even ruthless management style.
Oh, yeah.
And this almost spiritual side.
Okay.
Influenced by his studies in Zen Buddhism.
It really is a fascinating paradox. That Zen influence is evident in his relentless pursuit of simplicity in design and in life.
I see.
You can really see that minimalist aesthetic in everything Apple produced. The sleek lines of the Macintosh, the intuitive interfaces of their software.
Okay, so let's talk about the Macintosh revolution.
Let's do it.
1984. The iconic Super Bowl commercial directed by Ridley Scott. The same guy who brought us Blade Runner and Alien.
Right.
Talk about making a statement.
Powerful imagery. That commercial with its imagery of breaking free from conformity, it perfectly captured the spirit of the Macintosh. It was designed to be user-friendly.
User-friendly, okay.
Intuitive, accessible to everyone, not just tech wizards.
And yet, despite all the hype, the early Mac struggled.
Yeah.
Jobs' management style created tensions.
There were clashes.
And in 1985, in a really shocking turn of events, he was ousted.
Wow.
From Apple.
From the company he built.
I know. Can you imagine?
It's amazing he didn't just disappear.
I know.
But he didn't give up.
Yeah.
He founded NextT.
NextT, okay.
Which may have been a commercial flop.
Okay.
But it gave birth to the Next Step operating system.
Okay, now this is interesting to me. For the techies out there.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
Right, because Next Step, with its object-oriented programming and advanced features, it laid the groundwork for what would become the modern Mac OS that we all use today.
So even in defeat, Jobs was planting the seeds for future innovation.
It's amazing. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he goes and buys the graphics group.
Okay.
Which becomes, you guessed it,
Pixar.
The animation powerhouse behind
so many classics.
Toy Story, Finding Nemo. This blows my mind because it shows that his interests went far beyond just computers.
Absolutely.
He was captivated by storytelling, by the power of animation to connect with people.
It really speaks to his artistic side,
Yeah.
Understanding that technology is just a tool
Right.
The real magic happens when you use that tool to tell compelling stories, to evoke emotions, to create experiences that resonate.
And wouldn't you know it, just when you think he's off on this completely different path,
Yeah.
he's back.
He returns.
1997, Apple is
Struggling.
and they call back the prodigal son.
Haha, they need him.
Steve Jobs returns, restructures the company,
Wow.
and puts this laser focus on the product line.
This is where you see his business acumen shining through, right?
Yeah.
He knew streamlining was important, creating products that were not just innovative, but also beautiful and intuitive to use. He was obsessed with every detail, the hardware, the software, everything.
And that leads us to, of course, the iMac in 1998.
The iMac.
That colorful all-in-one design.
Right.
That was like a breath of fresh air.
It was.
You know, in a world of beige boxes.
Totally.
The iMac marked the beginning of Apple's remarkable revival.
It did.
But it wasn't just about the product, was it?
No.
It was about the philosophy behind it.
The Think Different campaign, right?
Yes.
That accompanied the iMac launch. It was brilliant.
So smart.
They weren't selling computers.
Right.
They were selling a mindset, a way of approaching the world.
It was about embracing the misfits.
The rebels.
The round pegs and square holes.
Exactly. And that resonated with people.
Absolutely.
It was like Jobs was giving them permission to be themselves.
Oh, look.
To think differently, to make a dent in the universe.
To make a dent in the universe, yeah.
And that brings us to, I think, a pivotal moment in Jobs' story.
Okay.
And in the history of technology. The iPod, iTunes, and the complete shakeup of the music industry.
Oh, yeah. We're about to enter the era where everything changes.
Everything changes.
Okay, so we were talking about this think different philosophy and how it was really catching on. And then, bam, 2001, the iPod dropped.
The iPod, yeah.
I remember thinking, like, oh, it's another MP3 player.
Right.
But it was so much more than that, wasn't it?
It really was. It's interesting because the design was a huge selling point.
Right.
So sleek, but it was really the ecosystem that Jobs built around it that changed everything.
The ecosystem, okay.
Yeah, so the iPod plus iTunes, easy-to-use software for managing music.
Right.
And then legal music downloads through the iTunes store.
Right. Complete game changer.
Your record companies, they were freaking out.
Oh, yeah, they were scrambling.
People could buy individual songs.
Yeah.
Legally, easily.
Easily, and carry their whole music library with them.
Crazy. It totally changed how we consume music.
It did, and it paved the way for, I think, what many considered Jobs' biggest contribution.
Okay, I know where you're going with this.
The iPhone.
The iPhone. 2007, Apple unveils this device that changes everything.
Changes the world.
I mean, it's hard to believe it's been that long.
I know, right?
It feels like yesterday we were all like, whoa, look at that touch screen.
The sleek design.
The iPhone wasn't just a phone, though, was it?
No, it was this convergence of technologies. Phone, internet browser, music player, camera.
Yeah.
All in one intuitive device.
And he insisted on the touch screen.
Yeah, when most phones still had those clunky keypads.
Right. He really had this vision, didn't he?
He did. He wanted a device that anyone could pick up and use.
No matter their tech skills.
Exactly. And then, 2008, the App Store opens.
The floodgates open.
The limitless possibilities.
Totally. Developers could create apps for anything.
Anything you could imagine.
Games, social media, productivity tools.
The iPhone and the App Store changed how we use phones.
Forever. Hard to imagine life without them now.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Communication, navigation, entertainment.
Even managing our finances.
Yeah, it's crazy. And all this was happening while Jobs was battling cancer.
Oh, yeah. In 2004, he was diagnosed.
With this rare form of pancreatic cancer.
Right. And it's just a testament to his resilience.
I know, his drive.
That he kept leading Apple through this incredible growth.
While fighting for his life.
He never let the illness define him.
He didn't. He stayed focused on that vision.
Pushing his team.
To create products that would change the world.
Really inspiring.
It is. He stepped down as CEO in 2011.
Yeah.
And sadly passed away at 56. A huge loss.
It was.
But his legacy lives on, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just about products.
Or profits.
Or even...
It's something more, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about a mindset.
Okay.
Approaching life and work with passion, purpose.
Commitment to excellence.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
He said that right.
He did. A call to embrace curiosity, challenge the status quo.
Never stop learning. Never stop growing.
Exactly.
He believed in blending art and technology.
Yeah.
Creating products that weren't just functional.
Right.
But beautiful.
Intuitive.
Yeah, he wanted to make tech accessible.
For everyone.
To empower people to create.
To connect, to express themselves.
Yeah, and that simplicity.
That Zen influence.
It wasn't just about how things looked.
No, it was about stripping away the unnecessary.
Focusing on what matters.
Making tech that's powerful but easy to use.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have.
From early influences
to remarkable achievements.
We've seen how he blended art and technology.
Yeah.
His drive and vision.
How they shaped not just Apple,
but entire industry.
His legacy continues to inspire.
It does. But I think the most important question is,
what does all this mean for you?
Yeah. How has your world been shaped by Steve Jobs?
That's a big question.
It is. And what does stay hungry, stay foolish mean to you personally?
That's a good one to ponder, right?
Yeah. And I think reflecting on those questions
help us understand not just Jobs,
but our own potential
to make a difference.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how much of the world that we live in, the way we communicate, how we use media.
Even just design.
It's all been influenced by this one guy.
It's a reminder that one person, even with flaws, can make such a difference. Makes you wonder what the world would be like if...
I know, right? If he had lived longer.
Yeah. What else he would have created.
But we also got to remember,
Yeah,
his path wasn't always smooth sailing.
No, definitely not.
It could be.
Very demanding.
Yeah, abrasive.
Yeah, there are lots of stories about those clashes.
With colleagues, competitors.
It's important to acknowledge that.
Yeah, to paint the full picture.
Right, not trying to make him a saint.
Exactly. But even with those rough edges, that vision, that passion was so strong.
People were drawn to it.
They wanted to be part of it.
Yeah, to be part of something big.
Something that pushed boundaries.
It goes back to think different.
Not just a slogan.
No, a way of life.
It was at the heart of everything he did.
He challenged conventions.
Took risks.
Big risks.
And sometimes failed spectacularly.
Yeah, but he embraced those failures.
Learned from them.
Opportunities to improve. He once said, "I'm as proud of what we don't do
as I am of what we do."
Yeah, a powerful statement about focus.
About making choices.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
Chasing every shiny object.
But Jobs knew the power of saying no.
Of
focusing on what truly mattered.
And it shows, right?
Yeah.
In the products.
They were elegant, intuitive.
Designed to solve problems.
For real people.
Not just problems for the sake of it.
Right, and I think that's the lesson. It's not just about gadgets.
Or companies.
It's about how you approach the world.
With curiosity, creativity, a belief that you can make a difference.
To use his words, to put a ding in the universe.
And that's a challenge we can all take on.
No matter what you do.
Whether you're an entrepreneur, an artist.
Even just an everyday person.
Trying to make a mark.
Exactly.
To stay hungry.
Stay foolish.
And never stop exploring.
There's always something new out there.
To learn, to create.
The world is waiting to be changed.
What a great note to end on.
It has been a journey.
This deep dive into Steve Jobs. So inspiring.
Thought-provoking.
Thanks for joining me, and until next time.
Keep thinking differently.
Keep thinking differently.